For 70 years, the United States military has been a slave to a single fragile piece of infrastructure, the concrete runway. If you want to project power, you need a 2-mile strip of reinforced pavement. You need massive stationary air bases like Kadena or Ramstein, giant unmoving targets that sit on enemy satellite feeds like sitting ducks. Or you need a $13 billion aircraft carrier, a floating city that requires a small navy just to protect it from a single hypersonic missile. But as I sit here looking at the propulsion schematics for a new black budget project out of a company called Shield AI, I'm realizing that the era of the runway didn't just end, it was executed. This is the US X-Bat. It's not a drone in the way you're thinking. It's not a slow-moving MQ-9 Reaper that circles a desert for 20 hours. The X-Bat is a supersonic, AI-piloted, tail-sitting predator. It has the heart of an F-16, the brain of an autonomous swarm, and the ability to launch from the back of a truck in a jungle and return to land on its own tail. The Pentagon isn't just buying a new plane. They are quietly deleting the requirement for air bases. They are moving the entire American kill chain into the Agile Combat shadows. I'm James. Welcome back to the Hidden Muster. Today, we are performing a forensic autopsy on the machine that just made the aircraft carrier look like a historical relic. We're tearing into the F-100 engine integration, the Hivemind AI pilot, and the terrifying reality of a 2,000-mile combat radius that requires zero ground infrastructure. Tear the tape off the file. This is the anatomical breakdown of the US X-Bat, the machine that just executed the runway. To understand why the X-Bat is a trillion-view threat, you have to understand the fundamental physics of the tail-sitter. Most vertical takeoff and landing, or VTOL aircraft, like the F-35B or the Harrier, are compromises. They carry heavy lift fans, complex swiveling nozzles, and massive hydraulic systems that are dead weight the moment the jet starts flying forward. The F-35B, for example, sacrifices fuel and weapon capacity just to house that giant fan behind the pilot's head.
The X-Bat doesn't compromise. It is a pure airframe. Its design is what we call a cranked kite or a winged bat planform. It's 26 feet long with a 39-foot wingspan, roughly the size of an F-5 Tiger. But instead of landing on wheels, it lands on its rear control surfaces. When it's on the ground, it stands upright like a rocket. When it takes off, it uses raw, exuberant thrust to lift itself vertically. Once it reaches altitude, it pitches forward and becomes a high-speed, supersonic interceptor. Why does this matter? Because it removes the mechanical tax of VTOL. By using the engine's own thrust vectoring nozzle, a 3D nozzle similar to the experimental F-15 active testbeds, the X-Bat can maneuver with a violence that would snap a human pilot's neck. There are no lift fans, no extra engines, just one massive, screaming power plant and a set of AI-controlled fins that dance in the exhaust plume. This isn't just an engineering trick. It is a logistical revolution. In the Pacific Theater, the biggest nightmare for a commander is runway cratering. If an adversary rains 500 ballistic missiles onto a base, your $200 million F-22s are trapped in their hangars. They become very expensive stationary targets. But the X-Bat doesn't care about craters. It doesn't care about concrete. You can hide 50 of these in a commercial shipping container. You can hide them in a forest. You can hide them in the parking lot of a Costco. The X-Bat turns the entire planet into a runway. Now, let's look at the telemetry that most people are ignoring. If you look at the propulsion specs Shield AI just released, you'll see something shocking. Most collaborative combat aircraft or drones use small, efficient business jet engines designed for fuel economy, not high-end combat. The X-Bat is different. Shield AI is integrating the Pratt Whitney F100 or the GE F110. Those aren't drone engines. Those are the engines that power the F-15 Eagle and the F-16 Fighting Falcon. We are talking about nearly 30,000 pounds of afterburning thrust in an airframe that weighs a fraction of a manned fighter. The thrust-to-weight ratio on this machine is off the charts. It doesn't just fly, it teleports. By using an exuberant engine, an engine with far more power than the airframe technically needs, Shield AI has solved the two biggest problems in drone warfare: speed and survivability. Most drones are easy to shoot down because they are slow. The X-Bat is designed to fly at Mach 1+. It can keep up with a manned F-35. It can outrun most surface-to-air missiles in a high-speed dash. And because it has so much excess thrust, it can carry a massive internal payload.
The X-Bat features two internal weapons bays. It's designed to carry the AIM-120 AMRAAM for air-to-air dominance, but it can also lug the AIM-174B Gunslinger, the ultra-long-range variant of the Navy's SM-6. Think about the tactical math here. You have a drone that can take off from a dirt road, climb to 50,000 feet, squint at supersonic speeds, and fire a missile that can hit a target 200 miles away. And when it's done, it flies back and lands on its tail on a 15-foot patch of grass. It is the ultimate hit-and-run weapon. It is a standalone system, meaning it has its own multi-mode radar and potentially an infrared search and track suite. It doesn't need a mothership to tell it where to look. It is a fully fledged autonomous fighter jet that just happened to lose the cockpit. But the airframe and the engine are just the body. The real trillion-view secret is the brain. Shield AI calls it Hivemind, and this is where the James forensic analysis gets dark. For the last decade, we've been told that drones are remotely piloted. There's a guy in a trailer in Nevada with a joystick. That's a 20th century mindset. In a high-end conflict against a near-peer adversary, that guy in Nevada is useless. The moment the war starts, the electromagnetic spectrum will be jammed. Satellite links will be cut. GPS will be spoofed. A drone that needs a human to fly it is just a target. Hivemind is different. It is an AI pilot that has been trained in millions of hours of simulated dogfights. It doesn't use GPS. It uses visual odometry and inertial mapping. It looks at the ground with its sensors, recognizes landmarks, and knows exactly where it is without a single satellite signal. But Hivemind isn't just a pilot, it's a collective consciousness. If you launch a swarm of 16 X-Bats, they don't operate as 16 individuals, they operate as a single distributed organism. If X-Bat number 1 detects a radar emission from an enemy ship, that information is instantly shared across the entire hive in milliseconds. The AI doesn't wait for a human to give an order. It analyzes the threat, reorganizes the swarm's flight path, assigns one drone to act as a decoy and another to execute a kinetic strike. It executes collaborative tactics in total radio silence. It is faster than human thought, it is more precise than human reflexes, and most importantly, it is attritable. If you lose one X-Bat, the hive doesn't mourn. It just recalculates the mission geometry and keeps moving. You cannot scare a hive. You cannot tire it out. You can only destroy every single node, and by the time you've found the last one, it's probably already launched its missiles.
Let's talk about the doctrine that is driving this. The Air Force calls it ACE, Agile Combat Employment. The old way of war was gather 100 jets at a massive base and launch them in a big wave. The ACE way of war is scatter 500 drones across 50 different islands, hide them in caves, under nets, and on small boats, and launch them all at once from different directions. The X-Bat is the holy grail of ACE. Because it's a tail sitter, it has zero footprint.
It doesn't need a fuel truck. It can be refueled from a small bladder in the back of a truck. It doesn't need a maintenance hangar. Its modular design allows two people to swap an engine or a sensor suite in under 30 minutes. Shield AI claims the X-Bat has a 2,000 nautical mile range. With its internal fuel and high-efficiency flight profile, it has a 1,000-mile combat radius. Let's put that on a map. From a small, unnamed island in the Philippines, an X-Bat can reach deep into the South China Sea, loiter for hours, engage enemy fighters, and return to land on a different island 500 miles away. The enemy's satellite intelligence becomes useless. They can't target the base because there is no base. The base is everywhere. This is what I mean when I say the X-Bat executed the runway. The Pentagon has realized that in a modern war, the safest place to be is dispersed. By removing the requirement for a 10,000-foot strip of concrete, the X-Bat has turned the entire Pacific Ocean into a giant invisible airfield. And it does this at a tenth of the cost of a fifth-generation manned fighter. You can buy a fleet of 50 X-Bats for the price of 5 F-35s. The cost curve of air dominance has finally broken in favor of the swarm. So, where does this leave the king, the F-22 and the F-35? If you've been following the hidden muster, you know my stance on the Raptor. It's a masterpiece, but it's a high-maintenance hangar queen. It needs a pristine runway and a team of 50 specialists to keep it flying. The X-Bat represents the brutalist future of warfare. It is lean, it is mean, it is designed to be lost in combat and replaced the next day. The Air Force is currently in a state of internal panic. There is a civil war happening between the pilot mafia, the generals who grew up in cockpits, and the autonomy radicals who see the writing on the wall. The radicals are winning. The X-Bat is moving toward flight demonstrators in the second half of 2026. By 2028, we will see all-up demonstrations of supersonic AI-piloted swarms. The reality is that we are witnessing the sunset of the exquisite manned fighter. When you can deliver F-16 performance from a trailer in the woods without risking a human life, the political and financial argument for the manned jet starts to evaporate.